Okay, we're just getting things sorted out here. Bear with me. Get transmitter connected. If I find my own stream, youtube.com. Your channel, I should be showing up live already. Here I am. So I can borrow the URL. And I can bang it in here. Connect. In fact, I will also add to the transmitter the invite hashtag. And then I just need to go into YouTube on a second computer so I can see conversations happening. I will be starting very soon, honest. Bear with me. Mute the screen on the second laptop. Okay, let's get this plane in the air. Let's have a look at the route first. So we've got a hell of a route ahead of us. We're taking off from Astorp in the top corner of Norway. Sorry, Hybuk to Møren. Oh, that means the description on the flight is wrong. ENRK. Okay. Oh crap. Stop streaming. Can I alter the live stream while it's live? Can I alter its description? Let's have a look how good YouTube is. Okay, video. Can we alter the live stream? Yes, we can. Starting from... We're not starting from Astorp at all. We're starting from ENRK flight plan reverse. Flight plan. ENKR. Hybuk to Møren. I'm just saying that phonetically so I can spell it. Hybuk to Møren. Save. Okay. Close out of there, and I think we're good. So well, let's just refresh the view of the live stream. We are getting there slowly. So this has been a disaster of a start, making mistakes left, right and centre, and trying to get several laptops aligned with each other so I can actually see comments while I'm flying, because I only have one screen. And trying to steal the URL to post elsewhere. It's a bit of a nightmare, really. Okay, I think we're good to go. So as you will see on Little Nav Map, there is a colossal flight plan. We're not going to do it all today, obviously, because it's going to take a day's worth of flying to do it. So we'll probably fly as far as Tromsø or something today. Just do small legs. Okay, so we're in the Kodiak. Let's just get a few more things sorted out before we take off. So if I go into discord.com/app, is it logged in on the second machine? If it is, I can steal the YouTube and post the link to Virtual Flight Online. And it's not logged in, so something else hasn't been prepared. Going really well so far. Sod it. Okay. Right, okay, let's just go. Master switch on. Turn the fuel on overhead. Open the valve for the fuel. Ignition on. Starter on. While we're doing that, and the simulator has paused. No, it hasn't. It's come back again. But I don't appear to have control of the cockpit. I've lost the mouse. Unbelievable. How buggy is this simulator? And the mouse has come back again. And now I've got the mouse back. I have no add-ons installed, and I lost the mouse there for no reason whatsoever. It's just a continual struggle with this simulator, with it either pausing, crashing the desktop, or doing all manner of things. How are we doing on outside air temperature? It's -7. If we touch any cloud, we're going to ice up. So I'm going to turn the windshield icing on and the ice light to warn us. Okay, we're going to fly this VFR. We'll probably use the autopilot along the way, but we're going to try not to if we can help it. We'll use it on the longer legs to help us relax a little bit. We're going to switch off the fuse for the standby attitude indicator, this device here, because it eats frame rate apparently, and we don't really need it. Okay, so let's release the parking brakes, and we'll try and spin around without touching the person on the tug over there. So we're going to have some fun and games trying to find the runway here. I wonder if we can see it from above. So the exit's over there. If I sound like I've got a cold, it's because I have got a cold. So I apologise for that in advance. Flaps to take off position. And how much runway are we going to need? Yeah, let's just quickly stop. Let's go and check the wind. So on little nav map you can see, looking at the direction of the runway here, we need to turn right and fly into the wind to take off. So we're going to go scooting down the runway and spin round. And I'm going to go and post to Discord along the way. I'm an admin of an online flying group called Virtual Flight Online. and I'll advertise my presence on there. We're not going to need a lot of runway. I might turn around soon. This is the Kodiak after all, it can take off remarkably quickly. This isn't the flattest runway, is it? It's remarkably bumpy. I wonder if this is a sign of things to come with some of these northern runways. Okay. Mixture and away. Open the throttles all the way. And we're up, and the crosswind is really going for it with us. Flaps up. Go and have a look at the flight plan. We want to be going north out of here. So this time of year it really doesn't get very light in the north of Norway. So we're not going to expect much more than this kind of weather for much of the route around the top of Norway. Obviously the hours will get, or the day will get longer the further south we get. Trimmed down a little bit. How are we looking on the map? Getting back towards our track. So the first waypoint is an airfield directly north of us. 342 degrees, called Vadso. So let's just turn to... Should we go around the coast? Let's have a look at the map. We'll fly straight over this outcrop. So 342 or thereabouts. So we'll have a quick look at the autopilot for the moment so I can go and do some other things. Heading, altitude hold, and turn the autopilot on. And there it goes. So the plane is happily on the autopilot now. We'll cut the engine back. We'll cut the mixture back. This is an angle of attack meter. I'm not sure if anybody has realised that in the Kodiak. So we're also going to go for a bit higher. So let's go for 2,500 feet and vertical speed 500 feet a minute, just to clear these hills. And while that's happening, I could pop open Discord and go and post what I'm up to. So let's go and look in invitations in Virtual Flight Online, and I'll post to everyone. I'm flying the coast of Norway, starting at, what was the name of the place again? Kodiak to Moen, E-N-K-R, Kodiak to Moen. Broadcasting on transmitter and live on YouTube, and we'll give them the URL for that. So I will need to go into YouTube, which is here, and here I am, book to that. Close that. Go back to Discord. It's such a maze doing all this, isn't it? Feel free to join me. I won't be in voice in the voice chat channels because it causes too many issues with censorship. Oops. Privacy. Etc. Send name. So everybody on the server has just been told about that. Okay, so you can see Vadso off in the distance, and we've just cleared this hill, hopefully, by a couple of 100 feet. Oh, that would have been close, wouldn't it, if we'd have been at that highest point on the hill. So while we're en route to Vadso, let's have a look where we are on the map. We'll have a quick look at Virtual Flight Online. So this is Virtual Flight Online. It's a Discord server, and you can find it via the virtualflight.online website. You can find an invite straight into it. As you can see, there are 66 people online at the moment who are members, and there are another 589 who are offline at the moment, so there's a lot of people who have become members, and we're rapidly heading towards the number of members where we can become listed globally on the Discord discovery pages. We are a community of people who like flight sim, basically, and we go flying together. You can see there's voice channels, so we can go fly together and chat together. Everyone saves screenshots of what they've been up to. As you can see, some people have been making some liveries for the Kodiak, for example, of aircraft with Virtual Flight Online on them, which is really cool. There's all sorts of things. We aggregate news from the flight sim community into a channel for everybody, so you can see all the latest news on what's coming out. Obviously there's lots of chat channels with people talking about, you know, things they've seen or done in the sim. It's probably one of the best communities I've seen, and obviously I'm biased because I was one of the founders, but it's one of the best communities I take part in for Flight Simulator. There you go. So it's, go to virtualflight.online on the internet and you'll find a link to it. Okay, so let's see where we are. Heading towards Vadso. I'm going to close down Discord from here for the moment. The reason we're not broadcasting and putting other people live as well, or at least I'm not today, is I think it opens a can of worms in terms of privacy and censorship, so people could find themselves chattering away and forgetting that they're online live on YouTube, and that this would eventually be going out to the world, so their conversation would be heard, so they might go and say something. Okay, so we've got some chat in the YouTube channel. I wonder if there's any way in OBS I can make the chat appear. There must be a way. Scenes, add a scene. Okay. No, I'm not going to mess around with it. Add media source, scene, text, window capture. Is that how you do it? So I would have to have a browser window open. Text. So. I'm guessing that's how you do it. You do a window capture. Or display capture. So we're doing display capture already. Let's see where we are. So there's the runway we're going to. So I'm figuring this out at the same time as you guys are watching, which is probably not the most interesting thing to have happen, but okay. So come back off the throttle. Approaching Vadso. map. Get the tapping right one day. So there's the airfield. So let's go into a left pattern. How are we doing on speed? So we can drop flaps. Sideways. That's the runway. Drop flaps another notch. Turn in. Keep that on speed. We don't want to go lower than about 70 knots. So we're just going to do a touch and go, and then we're going to carry on along the coast. So let's sit up in the seat so we can see where we're going. It's a bit of a crosswind, not much. And we're down. So lift the flaps back to takeoff position. And we're up. Lift the flaps fully. And climb out, maintaining the same direction. Okay, let's go and have a look at the map. We want to be flying 37 degrees for our next destination. We've got quite a long way, 30 miles to go to get there. So we'll have an experiment with YouTube along the way, seeing if we can capture the voice chat into the simulator. Good morning, Lee. I just saw your note. I've got a second machine running with the YouTube chat on, so I'm going to try and fiddle it so I can get it on the 37 degrees, I think I said, didn't I? So we may find ourselves with some company in the sky at some point during this route. Okay, we've trimmed it out. So we centre the heading to the direction we're going. We toggle the altitude hold and then we switch on the autopilot. And that gets us pretty much going in the direction we want to go. So we'll pull the heading back to 37, but remember there's a crosswind, so we probably want about 35 degrees. My word, it's 30 knots wind. So a bit more than that then. Let's go for 32 degrees, which will be 5 degrees crabbing across the wind. Yeah, you can see the direction marker here of this nav map. It's quite a long way out. We might even have to go more than that. So that's 8 degrees crabbing across the wind. Right, let's have a play with OBS and sort this out then. So if I can add to the scene, because I could grab the webcam for example, a video capture device, and I could put my ugly mug on the corner of the screen talking like you see a lot of the Twitch streamers doing. I'm not going to do that. So I guess what we need to do is go to YouTube, open this stream, the wind, mute it, and then grab this window, or a piece of the window. So I'm presuming I can do that in here. So if I went do window capture, can I grab a piece of a window? That's the issue. Window capture. Create a new window capture. Okay. Window. capture method. Capture cursor, client area, match. So am I going to have to make this smaller to make it the right bit of window that I want? Oh, except this is not going to play nicely, is it? Because the responsive design of YouTube isn't going to allow that to happen. Well, that's annoying. Let's see if that was the best way of doing it then. So cancel that. Add. Just keep it on the aeroplane. How high are we over the ground? It's flat. That's good. So in here, I don't want to do that. Let's remove that. Let's add. So that was window capture we tried, wasn't it? So we tried display capture. Can we have a bit of a display? Okay. Capture method. Display. It's going to capture the whole display. Okay, that's not what I want. I'll have to look up how to do that. We'll leave that running in the background now. That's a shame. So I want to get rid of the window capture. So remove the window capture. Yes. Okay, I'll stop messing around now. All I was trying to do was get the chat window to overlay. Actually, I could research it while we're flying, couldn't I? So let's go and have a look. OBS, show YouTube, chat live stream or live. How to display YouTube chat with OBS Studio custom. Okay, so it's a custom. That's annoying. Why can this annoys me? Why do people have to do videos showing you? Why can't they just write it down? Twitch it. Desktop app running demo. Twitch it up. Okay, so somebody's written an integration that you can show over the top of Flight Simulator, basically. I'm not going to bother. Okay, how are we doing on the flight? Let's have a look. We're flying to Svartnes, Echo November Sierra Sierra. Svartnes is right out on the top right corner, or the furthest east airport in Norway. We can have a look at the information on the airport. So 3,300 feet runway, a couple of parking spots. It's asphalt, so it should be good. And we should have a nice headwind to fly into. Okay, let's go and have a look outside. We didn't turn the taxi lights off, did we? Isn't it funny how you suddenly remember things you haven't done? Especially when you're live streaming. Obviously the sea is frozen. Certainly this inlet is. I wonder as we get further out away from the coast if it thaws out. I think you can see the line out there where it's, yeah, there's the water. In towards the coast, it's frozen up. Svartnes. Once we've done the touch and go at smartness, I'm going to go and make a coffee and leave the simulator running and streaming. I'll set the camera angle up so it's nice. You can see the crab across the ground there. You see us going sideways, so we're actually heading that way. It's interesting. The wind is hitting us on the side quite strongly. I wonder if they'll ever implement trees moving around in the wind. That would be quite cool, wouldn't it? So you can see them swaying. It's a shame not being able to show the conversation. I guess Twitch does it built in, doesn't it? It's got it built into its studio client to do it. I've not really played with Twitch. I know a lot of the gamers use Twitch over YouTube, but the audience isn't as big. And I've got enough people on YouTube now that I've been able to monetize, which is quite handy, makes a bit of pocket money. Enough to pay for the hosting of Virtual Flight, for example. Okay. Just checking the microphone levels, looking good, because I've got the volume of the game and the volume of me, so I can manipulate them to make sure that they're balanced out okay. How are we looking on the map? We're nearly there, we're inside 10 miles. About 7 miles out from Svartnes. So we need to turn slightly to the right, so I'm going to turn our heading to 45 degrees. We should be able to see the airfield over there before long. That's it there, isn't it? And the scenery will become more and more rugged the further across Norway we get. In a couple of hundred miles time, after a few more airfields, it will start to get really interesting. This far northern corner of Norway is quite barren. And quite dark, as you can see. Quite oppressive, isn't it? As you can see, I haven't programmed the route into the computer, there's no point. So we're just using a chart, and they're not long legs. Okay, let's come off the throttle again. Come off the autopilot. That's the runway. We're just waiting for speed to bleed off enough that we can drop the flaps safely. We're about to get there. 108 knots, there we go. Drop the flaps. And start falling. We can gauge our rate of descent by the speed. And if we really want to, we can do we can hold the rudder away from the direction we want to go and drop a wing, and use the side of the aircraft as a brake. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to go full right rudder and left wing down. Okay, so it's full, I'm going to do it gently, full right rudder and left wing down. And you can go down at a steeper angle. It's almost like using an elevator. Remember, we've got a strong headwind as well. While we're flying in, let's go and switch that on. On the primary flight display, you can go to wind and show option number 3, and it shows it relative to us. So we've got a 19 knot headwind at the moment. So we'll go back and back. We'll leave that on now for the remainder of the flight. We're getting slow. Remember, we've got full flaps. So we're just coming into the airfield. It'd be helpful if we could see anything on the runway, wouldn't it? It's all snowed over. I just about make out some markings now. Down. Back up, flaps up, climb, and while we're climbing, we'll have a quick look at the map. So we're wanting to fly 283 degrees for the next 30 miles, so we're leaving Svartness behind. So let's go and set our vertical speed. We'll go to autopilot, we'll set our vertical speed to 500 feet a minute to get to 3,000 feet. Also tell the autopilot to fly 283 degrees. I should have reset the heading there. Good lesson for anybody else. Set up the heading before you switch the autopilot on. 283 degrees. So 283 degrees is going to be across the wind slightly, so we want to go a few degrees more than that to counter it. So we'll go for 287. 288, I guess. 5 degrees more. There we go, so the plane is set and it's climbing to 3,000 feet. We'll drop it down slightly. We'll go for 2,500 feet, 500 feet a minute. Should have some lights on in the cabin. It's a bit dark, isn't it? Cabin lighting on. Go. The yoke back on. So we're flying out of Svartness towards Batsfjord. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to go make a quick coffee. So I'll leave the aircraft flying along. I'll put it on a nice view outside so we can see it. And I'll be back in a couple of minutes. How are we doing? Let's have a look at the map, see where we are. So about halfway. Oh, we have someone called Norseman that has joined us on transmitter. So if we look, if he's on the same server, if we look behind us, there are his lights. Hurrah! So we have somebody flying along with us. Excellent. I will slow down on purpose. Give him a chance of... We can find out from transmitter what he's flying. It's Lee. Okay, Lee is one of the members of Virtual Flight Online. He's a great guy. So if you join Virtual Flight Online and come flying with us, you get to chat with him. So because I've slowed down, he'll have a chance of catching up now, which is good. I like to keep an eye on the scenery. Make sure I don't run into a hill or something. Let's have a look at the speed. How are we doing? So we've got a side wind. 26 knots. Oh, it's 10. Yeah, 26 knots. 10 degrees. So we're being pushed sideways alarmingly by the wind at the moment. Can you imagine living in some of these remote villages? Oh, this is starting to look quite oppressive out in front of us, isn't it? It's going to be the word for the day, I think, oppressive, looking at the weather. The scenery's gorgeous, isn't it? Oh, I have a generator fail. Oh, I haven't even turned the generator and alternator on. Have I not even noticed that? It's because I've been distracted by other things. Starter should be off. This is what happens when you don't follow procedures properly. The weather's just updated, and the reason for that, I think I've said about this before, we've got within range of an airport, so it's now using the METAR information from the airport rather than the global scenery. Therefore it's updated the weather to be more accurate. Okay, so looking at the wind, it's going to be a side wind whatever we do. So coming into Batsfjord is going to be, we could come into either runway. So given the weather, I presume we come over this hill and it's down here in the valley. So we may overfly. So we'll go slightly to the right on purpose. So 310 degrees to give us an approach for the airfield. So let's go and have a look. So it's in amongst these hills, so we should see it anytime soon. Is it behind the pillar? I think it's behind the hill. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you can just see it on the edge of that hill. That's the approach lights we can see twinkling. There they are. As we get closer, it's becoming more obvious. So there's Batsfjord. It's on top of that hill. Oh, this is going to be a fun one, especially as there's lots of turbulence from the strong winds. Whoa, what are those? That's windmills. Oh my word. So this is like an assault course now then. Okay, let's come off the throttle. Where is Lee? Is he still nearby? Just doing a quick look round for him. headlights. Is he still around? Aha, he's behind us. Okay. So, flaps down. Do I use a trick of sliding alarmingly to lose speed? Look at the speed falling off. Now we're going to have to crab enormously into this runway. Which means we're going to have to sit sideways in the cockpit to see where we're going. So leaning across the cockpit to see past the pillar. We're okay now. So as we get lower to the ground, usually the wind will dissipate because obviously there are other features the wind is hitting. Just keeping an eye on the speed. And we're down. Raise the flaps. Whoa, the wind nearly got into the wing then. This is dangerous. So I'm having to fly it on the ground basically. That's been the most dangerous so far. Okay, so let's get the autopilot sorted out. So we centre the heading this time before we do it. And turn autopilot on. And we set vertical speed to get back up to 2,500 feet. If it will let us. Let's go for 3,000. Vertical speed 500. And there we go. So the next leg is 305 degrees straight into the wind, but we'll go for slightly more than that, so 315, which will give us an entry into the next airfield, which again is going to be a wicked crosswind. So 315 degrees. So let's go and alter the heading on the autopilot to 315. Whoa. Heading. I hate that they've taken away the acceleration on the when you're rotating knobs in the cockpit. So now you end up scrolling the knobs forever and a day. So if we look around behind us, you can see Lee approaching over there. So we get to watch his approach. No pressure. Just keep an eye on any landmarks that we might slam into. Oh, are we going to vanish behind the hill? No, I think we'll be okay. Pretty smooth to me. Okay, how are we doing on the map? Okay, so we're going to have to counter this to more of an angle. All we've done so far is cancelled out the crosswind. So we're going to Berlevag. Echo November Bravo Victor, so we need another. We'll go for 340 degrees. So it gets to a point where you're turning into it and you're going straight into the wind, and suddenly all of the side wind vanishes. So which has just happened to us. So I'm going to go for 330. This is really murky up here, isn't it? It's no fun at all. And Lee's just taken off again, climbing out. If we keep an eye on the map, we'll see if there's anybody else joins us along the way, especially if they're using transmitter, we'll be able to see them. So I should explain what transmitter is. It's this small program. I wrote it a year ago now. In Little Nav Map, you will have noticed potentially, if you've had a dig around in Little Nav Map, in the options there is online flying, and you can choose to show people who are on VATSIM or IVAO or whatever. So I thought, okay, how does that work? Because there's a custom option. So I went and looked into it, how to make a WhatsApp file. And what a WhatsApp file is, if we go and borrow this for a second, borrow that URL, put it into a browser. This is a WhatsApp file. It looks like gibberish. So if we go and view page source, we can see it looks almost identical when you view the page source. So this is a delimited file with the information about each person that's using the program in the air, or that's reporting their position, I should say. So Little Nav Map can make sense of this, so you can see there's longitude and latitude, there's the name of the pilot, the type of aircraft, and so on and so forth. So I started thinking and thought, well, okay, if VATSIM and IVAO are reporting the pilots in the air using this format, we could copy it because Little Nav Map has a custom option. So that's exactly what the little program does, transmitter. It connects to Flight Simulator. So as soon as you click connect, it connects to Flight Simulator and it reports your name, your aircraft position, and your speed, and all the relevant information, your altitude, and puts it into that file, which Little Nav Map can then pick up via that URL. So all of the red aeroplanes you see when you're connected are people that are flying Flight Sim running transmitter. And it's really good for group flights. If you want to see who's online, other than just where you are in the world, you can do that quite easily. So if we go to virtualflight.online and go to the WHO page, it shows you a global map with everybody and lists out all of their usernames, their aircraft types, and where they are. And you can click on a person to see more information about them. So I could find myself on the list, for example. So I will be GJ Beck. If I go and click, and you can see I've put a link in. This is what I did early on in the stream, where I went and copied the YouTube URL and stuck it in transmitter. So this is so other people that see it can see me easily. And obviously we can zoom in on this map, and we can see both myself and Lee flying along. And it's quite straightforward. So yeah, but the main benefit of doing it is if you're doing a group flight and several people are using transmitter, or you've got an ATC maybe who's doing, helping out with directing people, then you can do it with Little Nav Map, and you can see where people are, because one of the major failings of Flight Simulator at the moment is the positions of multiplayer aircraft are not available outside of the simulator. I don't think there's an API yet that that reports that data, so it's inaccessible to external pieces of software like Little Nav Map or whichever mapping program you use. So this is a way around it. So we're piggybacking the data format used by some of the ATC systems like VATSIM and IVAO. I only picked IVAO to copy their data format because their data format is published. I couldn't find good documentation on the VATSIM data format. It's very, very similar to IVAO. And when you start reading, you discover that IVAO and VATSIM were once upon a time the same infrastructure behind the scenes. And at some point in history they had a massive falling out, and they have made their systems deliberately incompatible with each other, which frustrates me enormously. They're both a little bit guilty really, because the software they use to manage the aircraft positions in VATSIM and IVAO is called an FSD server. So when you connect to the system, you're connecting to an FSD server. Neither of them built that, and they have slowly modified the source code of each system to make them incompatible with each other, and to make the clients locked down to just their system, Which, I mean, obviously there are benefits to doing that. It's a very similar story that's been happening with mobile phones. I don't know if you've ever looked into messaging on mobile phones. For many years, Google tried to get all of the major players to talk to each other and to build interoperable messaging systems. So their first attempt using the XML RPC protocol was Google Chat years ago, which hooked onto the back of a well-known open protocol, and it just implemented it. And it was otherwise known as the Jabber protocol. You might remember that if you've ever heard of it, which lots of chat clients at the time used. But neither Apple or Nokia or Samsung or anybody else would agree to work on the same open protocols, and they all went and made their own proprietary ones that wouldn't talk to anyone else's because they wanted to lock people in, which is ridiculous. Can you imagine if that had happened with the web or the internet in general, if it had been owned by anybody? Because of course in the early days the major corporations did try to own the online world. So Microsoft for years didn't get it, and they had the Microsoft network, which was similar to AOL or CompuServe before them, or CompuLink Information Exchange, or Prestel. They all made silo, locked in, walled gardens, if you want to call them that. Well, we are going really slowly. We have lost. Okay, I've got a throttle problem. That's why I'm going so slowly. So if I look around me, I should see Lee has caught up, because I was going so slowly. I have to be really careful. My throttle has been playing up for weeks. It suddenly gives a spurious signal and returns to 50%, which is really annoying. I need to probably take the hardware to bits and clean out the switches. That's a potentiometer, isn't it? I think that's in the heart of each joystick that records the axes. Okay, we've sped back up a bit. So where are we on our map? We're just coming into the approach for Berlavag. So yeah, I apologise if I went on a bit there about the various companies not opening up their protocols, but it frustrates me enormously. I'm a huge proponent of using Linux and open source software, even though I work for a Microsoft partner in the daytime, or we have been a Microsoft partner in the past. Yeah, I work with all kinds of proprietary systems, and they are enormously frustrating when they don't support open protocols, but that story is changing. In the last kind of decade, Microsoft has become an awful lot better at playing nicely with others. They've realised the benefits of doing so. Okay, so we can see the airfield over there now. So we can see this little village in the middle of nowhere lit up on the ice. Oh, can you imagine living there? It'd be freezing. I guess they're used to it though. It's a normal way of life for them. And you can see the edge of the sea ice here. So let's go and turn left, and we'll start turning in towards the approach. We'll cut the engine. So this is Berlavag, Echo November Bravo Victor. We're a bit high. So let's get the flaps down. So you know, use your trick. Losing height like a helicopter. Doesn't help the joystick is playing it a little bit. actually see anything on the runway this time. Just following the lights and we're down. And the ground wasn't steady either. You can see how lumpy and bumpy that runway is, which didn't help us. And we're climbing back out. Let's go and look behind. Can we see Lee coming in? He's just coming in a moment. Should we do a circuit and wait for him? So let's go left circuit. So we're going to go downwind. There he is. Not really stalking you, Lee, honest. Or Norseman, as the call sign says. Far too fast, we're on the edge of overspeeding. We're doing this so we can watch him. Just about to touch. So we're going to climb out. And our next leg takes us, I'll just get the aircraft trimmed out to climb over these hills. It's 25 miles, 277 degrees to Meham. That's probably not, it's Meham probably. I'm not sure how you pronounce this one. So it's some dramatic scenery coming up. 25 miles, 277 degrees, so let's get that programmed in. So we'll get the autopilot going for what we're doing at the moment. Let's go for 500 feet a minute, back up to 3,000 feet. And we want 277 degrees. Now bearing in mind we've got a crosswind, so we probably want closer to 287. I'll go for 285 and see how we get on. Come back off the throttle. Don't need to be that fast. So we can see, what was the airfield call we just left? Berleveg. See Berleveg behind us. You can see Lee coming into formation slowly. We haven't seen much cloud. There's been no low-level cloud around, so we haven't had to worry too much about icing, which has been nice. So we'll probably turn off the windshield icing. So yeah, we'll start to see some pretty cool scenery now, because it's becoming more rugged slowly. Although saying that, look, I turn off windshield icing and look what happens immediately. Is it happening on the front as well? Okay, maybe I'll turn that back on then. Yeah, it's starting to form pretty quickly. Of course, the big problem is we're going further and further north. I hadn't really thought about that. So -6 at the moment. I'm going to slow down. Give Lee a chance to catch up. Scenery out here is so stark, isn't it? All of its own. Should we have a play with the camera views while we're here? Pilot. Oh, she disappeared. Oh, turbulence, we just crossed over the land there. So this is the Kodiak, if I've not talked about it yet. It's a very, very good third-party aircraft for flight sim. If you've watched the missionary bush pilot on YouTube, this is the aircraft he flies. Okay, we're just crossing over. Oh, we got BAW007. That's my dad. He's joining the flight. So he's flying along. We're probably on voice comms over on Discord. Yeah, I daren't. Unless I get people to pre-agree that they know they're going to be live, I daren't do it. I daren't join them into the live recording. Should never quite know how that's going to go. I'd have to create a private channel or something in Discord and arrange it all beforehand, which we've thought about doing. Okay, so we're getting closer. Heading towards Mahamna. That's Mehamna, I guess. Yeah. So we're going to turn left in a moment to give ourselves some room to turn in. So let's go and do that now. Oops. So 270 degrees. So this will give us some room to turn in. Let's go and have a look over the top. So can we see it yet? I expect we'll see some lights. How are we doing? Let's have a look outside. So there's... looks like Dave hasn't got his lights on. Maybe. Switch your nav lights on, David. And Willie Canick has just appeared in the chat. Good morning. We're flying over the top of Norway at the moment. If we have a look on little nav map, the flight plan will horrify you. Because we've just started. I'm not going to do the whole thing today, obviously. But we've just started following all the airfields along the coast of Norway. And VFR with a bit of using the autopilot to make it a little bit less stressful. He still hasn't turned his nav lights on, has he? Maybe he's not on the same server. We're on the North Europe server. If anybody's not aware. So if you want to fly along with us and appear on the live stream with your aircraft, you're welcome to do so. Oh, he's turned his nav lights on. I can see him now. Excellent. Okay, let's have a look at where the airfield is. So zoom back in on the map. So let's get rid of some airspeed. Just cut the throttle back to 50%. You can see the indicated airspeed is bleeding off. There's the airfield down there in the bottom of the hill. There's a church spire down there. Let's have a close look at the map. So yes, these are contour lines. So it's in the bottom of that dip. Oh my word. So that's where we can see the church is down here. So it's slightly it's down in this hollow here. Behind this hill, behind this ridgeline. Okay, let's start getting rid of the speed then. And go to flap 1 now. Off the autopilot. Start turning towards... yeah, we can see the entry lights for the runway over there. Right, we have visual. Excellent. Where are the others? Just coming up behind me. Knowing Dave, he'll come in at about 400 knots and something like a... we haven't checked what aircraft he's got, have we? Knowing him, it will be the Vertigo. And he'll come across my nose any moment at several hundred knots. Whatever it is, it's shifting. Okay, so we are approaching. Oh, he's on my wing now. Mayhem. That's probably not how you pronounce it. So there he is. That's interesting. I'm showing him ahead of me on this one. Map. Unless the multiplayer isn't playing up. Maybe that was Lee that was behind me. Maybe he's not showing up because the multiplayer's not showing him. Oh no, there he is. He's below me. He's coming in a lot lower. Just wanted to be famous for 5 minutes, didn't he? To an audience of 10. Or 7 at the moment. He better land nicely now, hadn't he? Otherwise everybody will laugh. Looks pretty good. Missed the centre line there. Oh, that crosswind's vicious. And here we go again. Just trimming the aircraft out on climb out. Take off maximum throttle. Right, where is our next destination? Oh, we've got a long trip, 36 nautical miles now across the ocean to Vallan. So let's get the aircraft going. About 250 degrees. We probably want, looking at the wind, about 265 in reality. And we'll set it up with a nice outside view to enjoy the scenery along the way. So let's centre the autopilot heading on there, turn the autopilot back on. Vertical speed to get to 3,000 feet will be 500 feet a minute, and we're off and running again. So we'll cut the throttle back slightly. How are we doing with the icing situation? It's looking good. I probably need to have a think. Right, so Peter heat's on. Don't need to do anything special. Okay, cabin heating is on and running. 23 degrees, nice and toasty in the cockpit. Not so toasty outside. So this one's just taken off. So who's with us at the moment? We've got Norseman's just taken off, and 007's still on the end of the runway, parked up. It's probably being sensible and gone to make a coffee. So heading, let's turn this a bit more to 60 degrees. Early morning in Norway. Should we go for the drone camera, because you can make some pretty nicely angled. There we go. be out over the freezing cold water. We really don't want an engine failure over the water, do we? I think the general practice for this kind of flight, you know, sort of airport hopping or whatever, you know, short flights, this part of the world, if you go over the ocean, you get altitude on purpose, just in case you have an engine problem. Because if you go in the drink this part of the world, you've pretty much had it. It's too cold to survive. Unless they have the, you know, special suits on the aircraft that you can slip on. Maybe you wear them before you even get in the aircraft, just as a safety measure. Because you really wouldn't want to fall in the water this part of the world. It wouldn't last very long at all. Oh, they're back up and following. So I will go and cut the engine back to give them a chance to catch up. Whoops. Yeah, so let's cut the engine back a little bit more. We're doing 150, so they can catch up at 20 knots, I guess, at the moment, if they're in Kodiak. So let's go and see what they're both in. So if we go and click on, that's interesting. So Dave's transmitter isn't reporting now, if that's to be believed, because we've got two aircraft in the air. Unless that's somebody not using the transmitter, and Dave is still on the ground. What was he in? Does it tell us his aircraft type? Yeah, Coronado Skymaster. Whereas Lee is in a... That's the Kodiak. I've just been buzzed, haven't I? What's he doing? Does he know he's not running transmitter? That looks like a racing plane. Because it might not be Dave. If I turned on labels, I'd know. So should we do it? Let's just quickly go into general options and traffic and turn on nameplates on, apply, go back, resume. No, it's somebody else. It's Lina Ziandra. So Desperate Dave is still on the ground. That's his username at the moment until he decides to change it again. Got Pilot Lee, which is Norseman on transmitter, showing on the map. So we have a Lina Ziandra who's obviously seen us on YouTube and has decided to join in. Meanwhile, we're starting to make our way across the water here. And the proper rugged scenery lies ahead now. So I think today we will end... How long have we been going for so far? Let's have a look. If I do a refresh in YouTube on the other machine, I can see where we are. Closer and closer to the next airfield, which is Valan, Echo November Hotel Victor. Looking at the wind, 19 knots, we're going to have to come in. Yeah, we're fine coming in from this runway, looking at the runway direction. The reason people look at the wind is you don't want to have a tailwind landing of any kind of significant amount of tailwind, because it would mean your landing rate would have to increase, because the speed through the air would be affected by the wind. So you generally try and land into the wind, which means you can land more slowly in respect of the ground. Oh, and Dave's in the air again. Carinado C337H Skymaster. What is that? Should we go and have a look? Carinado. Skymaster. Ah, it's a Cessna. It's one of those. Okay, very cool. I wonder what it flies like in flight sim. Interesting. We need to zoom back out of here, don't we, to find out where we are. There we are on the map, on transmitter. And there we are in little nav map. And if we have a look around behind, we can see there are the various aircraft following. This weather is quite dramatic, isn't it? It'd be quite nice once we've done the north of the country to get a bit further south over the coming days. So I'm going to end today at Banek, I think, for the live stream. So we'll fly along the coast, past some of these villages. So we've got Kafjord, Stranda, sorry, Mor og Romsdal, Smallfjord, Russenes, Oldefjord, Kurstrand, Bellafjord, Indra Billafjord, Kolvik, Elgot, Igaldas. I'm probably murdering these place names. Igaldas, Bavekop. Okay. Here comes the Andra. M339. So I've obviously not seen that, because isn't that the trainer, the Italian M339 aircraft? Let's have a quick look. Yeah, it's the Italian military trainer, but I don't have it in my community folder. Therefore, I'm seeing a substitution of, looks like a citation of some description has just gone past me. Okay, so we'll do our landing at Valan, our touch and go. So I need to figure out how we're going to do this. Fly in through the bay, I guess, and turn in. So I'm going to skirt the edge of this. Just looking at the map to compare. Yeah, we skirt the edge of this land and follow the headland round into the inlet here. Stick close to the land, and then we should see the airfield. So let's go inside the cockpit and let's start descending. I'll do this low and slow. Have a look at the scenery along the way. the speed. You have to be mindful as well of the wind. Oh, it's only 10 knots. We're fine. Just wondering if it was still going to be 20 or 30 knots coming in off the sea, we could be blown into the hills quite easily. So let's tilt this up a little bit. So we'll fly the remainder of this route down to... where are we heading to? We're going into Valan at the moment, but we'll fly the remainder of the route down the inlet to Banak, low and slow along the coast, which should make it a bit more fun. Get to see some of this scenery. So we're going to stay to this left-hand edge of the bay, and it should take us directly towards the approach for the airfield. There's the runway to the right. So off the throttle. Flaps. So we've got a few knot crosswind, but nothing too serious. A little bit slow. Just opening the engine slightly. Down. And we're accelerating again. And we rotate. Flaps up. Speed, speed, speed. And then we're going to start tracing. The way down the valley. So we're going to turn left and follow these hills. We're going to stay low. Cut the engine back. Gonna enjoy the scenery for the rest of the way now. Pylons! Dave will be at home. That joke's never going to get old now, is it? As soon as we see pylons anywhere. Oh, well, there's loads of pylons. Let's see how low he gets. For anybody watching the stream that doesn't know, Dave has something of a history with pylons. You'll be flying along minding your own business and suddenly there'll be a call out on the radio. I've hit a pylon. So we're going to stay to the edge of the land as far as we can. Let's have a look on the map. So we'll go across this inlet, cut straight for the other side of it. It's quite dangerous. It's useful actually that this aircraft has a radar altimeter, otherwise you could get kind of snowblind with the frozen surface below. Because you really can't see any features on it at all. It's like a perfect white surface. Although you can see a reflection of the lights on it, but you can see that with the people behind me. So he's probably playing games with seeing the reflections. Oh, he's about to hit it by the leg of it. Shall we do that ourselves? Let's go down. So we'll do it inside the aircraft. Indoors, listen to me. So we're looking at the radar altimeter there. 28, 2000, sorry, 270, 250, 240. 200 feet. 170 feet, 160 feet, 150. Right, let's see if we've got a reflection with our lights once we get to about 100. That'll do. So can we see anything below us yet? No, we can't. So let's put our landing lights on. And our taxi lights on. And there's the ground. There we go. I wonder if you can land on it. So there is a texture when you light it with the lights. You can just see texture. Okay, that's enough being silly. Let's I'll leave the lights on for the moment now. Quite interesting to light up the ground as we get there. The trouble is, if you go too low, you can't really see very much, so I'm going to lift a little bit, gain a little bit of altitude. I'm going to go and turn the labels back off quickly because they look awful. They always do. I know there's a mod you can get to turn the nameplates on and off with a keyboard, but I'd rather have as few mods as possible and run the sim as stock as possible. They just kind of ruin the immersion a little bit. So we got a message from Dave on the live stream messages. I'm in the new Coronado Cessna 337 twin engine push and pull, whatever that means. So maybe we'll all have to go and have a look at the Coronado 337 then. So we're just coming down to Stranda, which is this next village along on this coast. funny, isn't it? Because transmitter lets you write whatever call sign you want in when you connect, you can, or when you're not connected, you can change your call sign. So you can put whatever you want in. So this part of the world, we really could put Thor, couldn't we? Thor, Odin's son. Loki, Odin's son. Though I guess Loki isn't Odin's son, is he? Loki was one of the ice giant's sons. Anybody that's not watched it, I think it's on Netflix. There's a series called oh crikey, what's it called? It's a dramatisation of a new retelling of the Thor myth. I'm just trying to remember what it's called now. Check, see what that program's called. Ragnarok. It's interesting because it's broadcast in the original. I think there might be a dubbing option, but I've watched it with the original Norwegian soundtrack and with subtitles. And it's great to hear the correct pronunciations for a lot of the words. So, you know, if you followed the Marvel version of Thor and Loki and Odin and the rest of their story, they tend to pronounce the name of Mjolnir, and the Norwegians tend to pronounce it Mjolnir. Or Mjolnir. It's very different. It's one of the things that winds me up actually, is when people make no effort to understand the correct pronunciation of words. And you get it a lot with brand names, don't you? Like Hyundai, Sony, Porsche. There's lots and lots of them. Xiaomi with the phones. What else is there? Huawei, a Korean manufacturer. Actually, I think Huawei might be Chinese. Okay, we're getting there. I can hear aeroplanes. Somebody's very close to me. Oh, there we go. Oh, I thought I might be able to see him from that window. Maybe not. Maybe, oh, he's behind me. Which pilot is doing that? It's Lee, or Norseman, as he's appearing as today. So how are we doing on the map? We're heading down towards a small fjord, which is this inlet between, there's a small island. Well, it's not quite an island, there is a connection to the land. So when we cross the land bridge, there's a small village called Smallfjord. The weather inland looks pretty atrocious, it has to be said. But over the sea out here, it's actually okay. Go low along the coast. Just keep on the airspeed, make sure we don't start overspeeding. It's slowly getting darker. So the people posting rubbish are about to get their comeuppance. So because I have control of the feed, so I can remove messages. So I'm just about to destroy their messages from the feed, which is great. If you haven't got anything constructive to post in the feed, don't, basically. If you're just going to try and post random gibberish or codes that you're then searching through some sort of robot to tell another robot which feeds can be posted into that are not moderated, then yeah, good luck with that. Let's go and have a look at, if we close the browsers for a moment, if we go and open Discord, we'll see how many people are actually in the chat room. It's probably just Dave and Lee, to be honest. Okay, why is Discord not opening? Here it comes. So let's go and look. And yeah, just Dave is sat in the chat room. So if we go over the top, we're heading down now, we're about 30 miles out from Bannock, which is where we're going to end today. If we straight line it, we'll come over the top of this hill, over Ytrabillafjord, then Indrabillafjord, then Kolvik, and fly straight down the inlet in. So there's hardly any wind down here, which is great. Some cold air in. We can hear the other aeroplane when we open the window. let's have a look at the map. Kodiak. So this small inlet coming up. On the way into it, we're going to get to Fjord. If anybody is from this part of the world and wants to correct me on pronunciation, feel free. It will be much appreciated. I think we can see the destination runway out in the distance. See the lights from it. It's a major airport, so it's going to be an easy landing. And the further we get inland, the further we're getting away from the wind. There's only a few knots of wind now. So this is Fjord, and then we carry on across the land bridge over Kodiak. We've just gone past Fjord, which was over there. Okay, looking good. Wonder if we'll have any problems with the cloud on approach. If we're coming in low, we should be fine. This road is lit up well, isn't it? Okay, so I guess we just fly straight down the ILS further. We're going to go past Egeldas over to our right and then follow the coast in, basically. And that'll be the end of today's live stream. This morning's live stream, I should say. I may well be up in the air again this evening, we'll see. Did we lose Dave? No, he's just a little way behind. So Banak, Enna, E Echo November Alpha is our destination airfield. You can see it lit up in the bay there in front of us. We've arrived just in time for lunch. Perfect. I wonder if they've got a nice cafe at the airfield. and get something to eat. How are we doing for fuel? We're down to about a quarter of a tank, so I think we probably need to refuel that Bannock as well. Let's go and at least get on the glide slope. Should we have a play with the ILS? Because we have got ILS here. 114 point. Oh no, that's the VOR station. 10935. So nav 1, 109.35. Switch it to active. And there we go. Localizer 1 has lit up. We don't appear to have a glide slope though, which is interesting. No diamond has appeared alongside the altitude ribbon. Okay, cut the engine. Going far too fast, but hopefully we'll lose the speed in time. Okay, it's looking good. So, flaps down. Obviously this is a huge runway, it's a significant airfield, so we'll have far more runway than we need with the Kodiak. Could probably land on a quarter of this runway. Oh, here comes the scenery rendering of the trees. That's interesting on the ground, the black area. I've not seen that before. Whether that's a discrepancy with the scenery, I'm not sure. Hey, we can actually see the centre line this time. It's quite useful. Yep, my daughter's just wandered in and is offering me lunch, so I'm going to park the plane up and go and have some lunch. You're live on YouTube, by the way. Yeah, there's no webcam, don't worry. I'm just taxiing down to the other end of the airfield. Looking for a taxiway, actually. I think this is it. Stop! Nearly missed the taxiway. Perfect. So I'm going to pull in here. Can't see the lines very easily, but we'll do our best. Actually, I should have been sideways there, shouldn't I? Looking at the ground crew. I'll do. Okay, wheel brakes on. Start turning things off. Cabin lights off. Off. Pitot heat off. Alternator off. Generator off. Ignition off. Bus off. And cut the mixture, which will cut the propellers. Okay, that's not behaving itself. And then finally power off. And now we're using a torch to look around. And then we can see Lee has parked in alongside us. Very good. So that's the end of the live stream for today. So next time I get in the air, we'll be taking off from Bannack. Oh, Dave's coming in. Shall we have a look and see if we can watch his landing? So if we take off with the drone camera. Here he comes. We need to alter the drone camera speed. This really annoys me. It doesn't remember this. Drone speed. Let's turn it up to 80%. Now we can fly off down the runway at a crazy speed. And should we watch Dave? Well, actually we can fly in with him, I guess. We won't see him as his Coronado aircraft because we don't have the model. But we can fly in with him. Is he actually coming this way? He seems a long way out and going very, very slowly. And this is in a helicopter, of course. It's just a long way out. Yeah. And the drone is going far too fast to now follow him unless I go and plug an Xbox controller in. Which is kind of frustrating, but... I guess what we could do is watch him fly past. Now we'll go down to the end of the runway and wait for him. See his light reflecting off the floor. So if we go just to the side of the Vasi lights. Face down. There we go. Right, I'm going to call an end to the live stream at that point. So that was good fun. I'm going to go and have some lunch now, and maybe I'll start a second live stream later today to carry on the journey. It might be tomorrow though. We'll wait and see. Okay, speak to you soon.